This animation illustrates a hypothetical scenario of the events leading up to the shooting of Trayvon Martin. It is consistent with all the physical evidence I have been able to compile, but as that evidence is highly limited, this scenario remains highly speculative. I have divided this into parts that will fit within YouTube's time limits. Since I have decided to keep this in real time, this part moves rather slowly, but it does contain basic setup information, including some things that have not been reported in the media. What you're looking at here is an apartment complex immediately west of the retreat at Twin Lakes, the gated community where the shooting occurred. Dee Dee, the young woman with whom Trayvon was speaking by cell phone throughout the day, has stated that while returning from the 7-Eleven store where he had purchased iced tea and Skittles, Trayvon took refuge from the rain under an apartment awning. The yellow dots indicate awnings over the entrances to these buildings. There are no awnings in the retreat, nor are there apartments per se, the community being made up exclusively of row house-style townhomes. This is the awning closest to the retreat. At the left of the frame, you can see the back of the diagonally oriented building at the northwest corner of the retreat. In case you haven't picked it up already, the small moving sprite at the top of the screen labeled TM represents Trayvon. I have Trayvon taking refuge from the rain under this awning, but it could easily have been one of the other three facing Oregon Avenue. Being new to the area, Trayvon may not have known that the retreat closes its gates at 7 p.m., or, had he been told, it may have slipped his mind as he was talking to Dee Dee and avoiding the rain. While we're waiting out the rain, I'll ask you to imagine yourself as you were when you were 17. Imagine that you're walking to your new home in an as yet unfamiliar neighborhood, and a car passes by you. It slows down as it passes, and the man inside gives you an unfriendly look. But the car drives away. How do you feel? What thoughts are going through your head? What might you imagine about the man in the car and his motives? You continue walking, and after a bit, you see the same car again. It's parked, but not in a normal parking place, not in a driveway, not in front of a house. In fact, it's parked exactly in the middle of your path towards home. What do you feel now? What do you think might be going on? Now, while we're still waiting for Trayvon to emerge from his rain shelter, I'll ask you to imagine that you're a young man nearing 30 with a passion for justice and a highly developed sense of right and wrong. You've taken some knocks in life and suffered what you feel to be injustices at the hands of fate, or perhaps at the hands of people you trusted. But no one was ever called to account for the wrongs you endured. You become upset, angry, when you see people doing things that are just wrong without ever facing consequences for them. Whether they be young children playing mischievous pranks on passing motorists, thieves burglarizing your neighbors' homes and garages, or police officers committing acts of brutality against defenseless, homeless men. You try to do your part to build a more just and safe world by keeping an eye on your community as part of a neighborhood watch group. But you haven't had much success. The assholes always get away. Now our tortoise-like animation is finally scrolling away from the apartment complex and over towards the northern half of the retreat at Twin Lakes. We can see here that there is no fence along the western boundary of the retreat and that there are gaps between the buildings. Let's take a look at that from street view. Here's the western edge of the wall running along Oregon Avenue. To the center right is the diagonal building in the northwest corner of the complex. What appears to be a diagonal wooden fence in this photo is actually a series of trellises. A person could easily pass through them, yet they seem to mark a kind of private space, to say, "Don't go here." There's a brick landscape retaining wall with a hedge on top of it, running the length of the diagonal building. But after that is an open space between the diagonal building and the building immediately to the south. Trayvon finally leaves his rain shelter, not knowing that the gates of the retreat have already been locked. But as he walks towards the entrance, he observes the details of the western edge of the retreat that we have just examined. We'll be moving to a wider view in a few moments, but while we're still in this closer view, let's take a look at some of the geography of the retreat. At the upper right of the picture is the main entrance. That street is Twin Trees Lane, which, as you can see, makes a 90-degree turn to the east 25 yards after the intersection with Retreat View Circle. You can see the clubhouse building George Zimmerman refers to in his police call. The address is 1111 Retreat View Circle, but as you can see, it's actually at the intersection of Retreat View and Twin Trees. Immediately to the right of the clubhouse, under the small awning circled in red, are the mailboxes. There wasn't enough room for me to put the label actually on the awning, so where you see the words mailboxes, that's nothing, that's just the label. You can see the north end of the central pond, the sidewalks that encircle the pond, and the other sidewalks that extend out to the streets from that circle. Finally, if you look at the swimming pool behind the clubhouse, you'll see that nothing along the edge of the pool area is casting a shadow, indicating that a person to the west or the east of the pool would have a relatively clear view to the other side. I speculate that by the time Trayvon got to the entrance of the retreat, he found the gates had been locked, that he considered it indiscreet to climb over them, and went back west down Oregon Avenue seeking another way in. Again, I speculate he would have seen potential entry points on the west boundary of the retreat as he walked out from his shelter under the apartment awning.